quiz covering the Civil War. You should listen to each question and answer in the appropriate on-screen box. You may listen to the question as many times as you like. You may also refer to the printed test sheet if necessary. For short answer questions, you can write a rough draft on your scratch paper before you respond on screen. Only the responses that are entered will be graded. You will have 45 minutes to take the test. Good luck. The first set of questions is multiple choice. You will be given 4 choices. Choose the answer that best responds to the question. Question number 1. The city of Charleston suffered numerous attacks and bombardments during the Civil War. Why were the aggressive Union tactics on the city so damaging to the Confederates? A. Charleston served as a major port, and many of the supplies for the Confederate Army came through the city. B. The majority of the Confederate Army was stationed in Charleston. C. When Charleston was captured, all the other major cities in the South had no choice but to surrender. Or D. The Confederate Army had not expected the Union to launch an attack on Charleston. Number 2. On February 16, 1865, Union General William Sherman and his troops reached the city of Columbia, South Carolina. What was the fate of the city over the next few days? A. Brave South Carolina soldiers fought off the Union invasion. B. In an effort to limit the destruction of the South, Abraham Lincoln ordered that the city be spared. C. More than 1/3 of the city was burned and lay in ruins. Or D. The Union troops marched through the city without stopping because their major target was Charleston. Number 3. What was an important outcome of the Battle of Port Royal Sound? A. The Union took control of Port Royal Sound in the towns of Beaufort and Hilton Head. B. The Confederate victory at Port Royal allowed the South to advance its military campaign. C. The Union was unable to establish a blockade against Charleston. D. The defeat of Confederate forces at Port Royal meant that Charleston was now under Union control. Use its position in Port Royal Sound to make life difficult for the Confederacy. A. The Union sent men north to surround Charleston. B. The Union set up a naval blockade along the coast of South Carolina. C. The Union attacked British ships that were bringing supplies to the Confederacy. D. The Union sent spies behind Confederate lines to steal Charleston's arsenal. Number 5. The 54th Massachusetts was an African American Union regiment that attacked Fort Wagner. Why was the location of this fort strategically important? A. It was close to the Confederate capital of Richmond, and capturing Richmond would end the war. B. It helped General Sherman achieve his goal of total war against the Confederacy. C. It helped the Union control the Mississippi River, preventing Confederate troops from getting supplies. Or D. Taking this fort at the mouth of the Charleston Harbor would help the Union bombard the city of Charleston. Number 6. Many Southerners complained that the war was a rich man's war and a poor man's fight because Confederate draft laws A. Exempted owners of 20 or more slaves. B. Exempted college-educated men. C. Only drafted free blacks. Or D. Exempted all doctors and lawyers. 7. As a result of the Emancipation Proclamation, A. Slavery was ended in every state of the United States of America. B. Lincoln was not elected to another term as president. C. African Americans were allowed to fight for the Union Army. Or D. African Americans were allowed to fight for the Confederate Army. contributed to the war in each of the following ways, except A, tended to farms and plantations, B, nursed the wounded, C, found substitutes for many products, or D, were drummers in the military bands. Number 9. The Confederate strategy for winning the Civil War was A, establish trade with European countries and fight until the Union tired of war. B, take the capital of Washington, D.C. C, divide the United States into East and West to prevent them from communicating. Or D, blockade northern ports of New York and Boston to keep the Union from trading with Great Britain. During the Civil War, many Southern plantations, A, flourished, grew economically. B, saw only minor damage. C, were destroyed. D, became industrial to meet the needs of the Army. Number 11. Which statement best describes African Americans during the Civil War? A, both the Confederate and Union armies allowed them to serve as officers. B, they earned some of the highest medals and were recognized immediately for their honor in battle. C, they never were allowed to fight but continued to work on plantations to honor their owners. Or D, they volunteered to fight, fought with distinction, but were paid less than white soldiers. 12. Why were blockade runners important to the Confederacy? A, they blocked northern ports, which led to tremendous shortages for the Union Army. B, they broke through the Union blockade and imported goods from the Bahamas, Bermuda, and Cuba. C, they prevented the Union from establishing a blockade of the southern coast. Or D, they destroyed Union ships in the blockade by sinking them with torpedoes. Considered a hero during the Civil War because A, he was the white commander of an African American regiment. B, he fought against his brother in the Battle of Port Royal. C, he was the Union commander to whom the Confederacy surrendered. Or D, he was a slave who used a Confederate ship to make a daring escape to Union lines. Why did the Civil War impact children of the South more than the children of Union areas? A, children in the South fought more in the war than Union children. B, children of the South experienced the horrors of war firsthand since it was fought in the South. C, there were fewer Southern children, so their deaths in battle had greater impact on the community. Or D, children of the South were expected to help in the reconstruction of bridges and had to work very hard. The next set of questions is fill in the blank. Read each question or statement carefully and write the answer to the fill in the blank on the box on screen. 15. In 1861, the United States government decided to launch along the Atlantic coast. This prevented ships from bringing new supplies to the Confederate Army and the people of the South. 16. Signed by Abraham Lincoln in 1863, the freed all slaves living in the rebelling states. 17. On April 12, 1861, the first shots of the Civil War were fired by the Confederates onto located in the center of Charleston Harbor. On February 17, 1864, the Confederate submarine known as became the first submarine to sink an enemy ship. 19. Robert E. Lee surrendered on April 9, 1865 to Ulysses S. Grant, thus ending the Civil War and securing a victory for the Army. 20. Sherman's march is a good example of a tactic because it brought mass destruction to the civilians and crippled their morale. The next section consists of one short answer question. On your sheet, answer the following question completely. Use complete sentences and paragraph form. 21. Describe the 4 points of the Union strategy known as the Anaconda Plan. Include in your discussion an explanation of why it was called this. Analyzing primary sources. Read the excerpts from your test sheet and answer the questions that follow. Use the test sheet to answer these. Here are the questions. 2. Why did they have to get in a cellar? 23. How would you compare Carrie's 10th birthday with a normal birthday of a 10-year-old? Interpreting a table. Use the provided table or tables to answer the questions. Take a look at the table. Answer the following questions. 24. Which army had the largest number of troops? 25. What was the greatest cause of death? Chart. Number 26. Using the graph provided, write a paragraph that explains the advantages the Union has over the Confederacy in fighting and winning the Civil War.